You think you know every pistol in CS2. You know the Deagle spray, the Glock's timing, and the P250's power. But what if I told you there's a weapon in Firearms history that breaks the game's physics? A gun Valve would never officially add because it's too weird to balance. Today, we're opening the reality files. This is the MARK-1 Model B, the gun that shoots rockets. And believe me, you are not ready for how it works. For years, the Counter-Strike community has buzzed with rumors of secret weapons. Data miners find code strings for grenade launchers, trip mines, even bows. But imagine a weapon that looks like a space-age blaster from the 60s, weighs as much as a toy, yet penetrates steel better than an AWP. Players might think the MARK-1 is just a skin or a mod, but this is real hardware. If it were in CS2, it would flip the round economy on its head. Why buy a Deagle for $700 when you could grab this? But why is Valve so afraid of this mechanic? Why are we so used to bullets in shooters and not many rockets? Let's break down the mechanics that could have been in the game but were left behind in history. Let's imagine the MARK-1 in the buy menu. Pistol slot, price, let's say $800. More expensive than a Deagle, cheaper than an SMG. Look at this design. It looks like NASA engineers got drunk and decided to make a handgun. A perforated barrel, a strange magazine in the grip, no slide reciprocating in your face. In-game, this weapon would have a unique recoil, or rather, a lack of it. In CS2, when you fire a Deagle, your crosshair flies to the sky. You have to wait for the reset time. But the MARK-1, in theory, is a laser. You pull the trigger and the crosshair doesn't move. Sounds like a cheat, right? A no-recoil script built into the hardware. But there's a catch. In-game, this would be a reverse damage weapon. At point-blank range, it does 10 damage. At 50 meters, it's a one-shot to the body. How is that possible? Why does the projectile get stronger the farther it flies? This completely breaks CS2's logic, where damage always drops off with distance. That's exactly why Valve could never balance it. It's a developer's nightmare, but a tactician's dream.
And now, forget the game. Welcome to the real 1960s. The Cold War is at its peak, and everyone is obsessed with space. A company called MB Associates decides, bullets are old news. Let's shoot rockets. Thus, the Gyrojet was born. And our hero is the MARK-1 Model B pistol. This isn't science fiction. It was a real attempt at a revolution. The main secret is the ammunition. It's not a cartridge. It's a miniature 13mm rocket. Inside, there's no gunpowder that explodes instantly. There's solid rocket fuel. When you pull the trigger, the hammer strikes the front of the rocket's nose, pushing it back onto a primer. The fuel ignites. The rocket starts accelerating right inside the barrel. The gases vent through angled side ports, those very holes you saw on the model. That's not for looks. It's to prevent the gun from bursting and to muffle the sound. The craziest part? When the rocket leaves the barrel, it's flying slowly. So slowly you could theoretically cover the muzzle with your finger and stop it. Seriously. At point blank, it has almost no energy. But let it travel 10 meters, 20 meters, the engine is working, and the velocity increases. At 50 meters, this little rocket accelerates to 1,250 feet per second, or 380 meters per second. At that point, it can penetrate a steel door like paper. It has more energy than the legendary 4.5 ACP round. Imagine this in reality. Soldiers in Vietnam actually tested these. Officers bought them with their own money, thinking it was the weapon of the future. It was lightweight, nearly silent. You only hear the rockets whoosh, and had zero recoil. You could fire it one-handed like a cowboy and hit, well, something, because the accuracy was terrible. The rockets were stabilized by rotation, hence the name Gyrojet, but in reality they flew wherever they wanted. One test showed a dispersion of 3 meters at range. That's like aiming for A site and hitting B site. Back to CS2. If Valve had added the MARK-1, they would have had to rewrite the physics of the Source 2 engine. In reality, the MARK-1 is the anti-Deagle. Deagle, loud, heavy recoil, deadly up close, loses damage at range.
MARK-1, quiet, almost like a silencer. Zero recoil, safe up close. You could survive a headshot, but a one-shot machine at long range. In the game, this would create reverse camping. Players with a MARK-1 would run away from the enemy to build up distance for damage. Don't come near me, I want to hit you. Sounds absurd, right? And reliability. In CS2, your weapon never jams. In reality, the MARK-1 jammed from dust, moisture, and the rocket sometimes just failed to ignite. The weapon failed commercially and became a collector's item worth thousands of dollars. In the game, we're used to the reliability of a Kalashnikov. Valve sells us the fantasy that weapons work perfectly. The MARK-1 is a reminder that reality is full of bugs. The MARK-1 Model B remained a strange experiment of the space race era, too unreliable for war and too complex for games. But it's an example of how engineers tried to think out of the box. And now, a question for you. Would you want a weapon with a reverse damage mechanic in CS2? Or is classic better than experimental? Post rocket in the comments if you watched this far. Subscribe to Blaymore. We break down the weapons others don't talk about. In the next video, why the AWP in real life would break your shoulder. Stay tuned. Peace.